Cavuto, and somewhere Charlie Rangel must be thanking his lucky stars. He has been one-upped by a car company, that is, and allegations Toyota might not be nearly the safety screw-up the administration's painted it to be. Here's the thing, the administration might have known it all along. And if my next guest is right, it might have been deliberately hiding the proof, at least in the short term, refusing to release documents that show this whole sudden acceleration thing is suddenly shy of the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Now, we're going to talk to someone who says it is all part of an elaborate Washington scheme to help GM by sticking it to Toyota. But first to the guy who broke this story, the Wall Street Journal's Mike Ramsey. Mike, update us. What did you discover?
Well, what happened is a couple of weeks ago, I worked on a story where we were able to get some data from NHTSA that showed that in early testing, that people who said they were pressing the brake and they couldn't stop their Toyota actually had been hitting the wrong pedal. What happened last week was really there was a little flap about this where people were saying that the information had come from Toyota and it was a plant. And a former NHTSA administrator who had just retired on the internet posted a thing saying, I retired, I know the information is correct, and the DOT is forcing NHTSA to sit on the information. I was able to track him down and interview him, and basically he said that he believes that the pressure on the Department of Transportation from Congress to produce something other than what Toyota has already said is causing problems, is leading NHTSA to kind of hold back on releasing this information that could say that, well, there is no electronics problem in Toyota.
That it was beyond, it could be just human error. But the Transportation Department looked at this, Mike, and we got this response. Mr. Person was not involved in any aspect of the ongoing investigation into sudden acceleration. NHTSA is reviewing Toyota EDRs involved in alleged unintended acceleration incidents, but its review is not yet complete, so the investigation remains ongoing. So the gist of that, Mike, from face value is we weren't ready to release anything. We're not hiding anything.
Right. Well, of course, I think that's an even logical response from the Department of Transportation. They are continuing to do testing. So I think that the point here is that this guy was with NHTSA for 27 years, and he is frustrated because he believes that this data is being held back and hides what is a known issue, which is that people, when they get nervous or in a crash, they sometimes hit the wrong pedal and leads to an accident, and that the administration should be spending time trying to figure out a way to solve that problem and not chasing ghosts in the machine, so to speak.
So even allowing for the possibility that this was human error and a lot of folks didn't and couldn't distinguish between the gas pedal and the brake pedal, there were a lot of folks doing that. Now, they all can't be, you know, doing the same thing, can they? I mean, the numbers would seem to behoove you, right?
Well, I want to point out that Toyota is not innocent here. They have an unintended acceleration problem, which has led to 8.5 million car recall globally. They have floor mats that stick and can trap the pedal down. They have sticky accelerator pedals. They tried to avoid doing this recall for a very long time, and they were fined by NHTSA because of it. So that's one issue, and that's a real issue. The side issue here is that they're being sued by hundreds of people who are claiming that the electronic throttle control system is malfunctioning and causing the cars to speed out of control. The data that NHTSA has been gathering indicates, really what it indicates is that in these cases where it can't be explained by what Toyota has already said is the problem, it's likely driver error.
All right, good stuff, Mike. Again, the bottom line here, folks, is you've been presented with sort of one stream of data against Toyota that paints Toyota as the lone culprit here. If that is not the case, that it's not exclusively just Toyota, and that is being kept from folks, that's a big deal. My next guest says such a big deal that it could be a gross abuse of power to prop up a company that the administration owns, not Toyota, General Motors. Lauren Fix is the car coach. Lauren, a lot we don't know, but this does not look good for those trying to exclusively vilify Toyota. What do you make of it?
Well, I mean, initially, I do agree that there are some issues with Toyota. They are not 100% scot-free, and there are absolutely issues. And every manufacturer has issues, and we're aware of that. But what we don't like is when we are getting false stories sent out to respected publications or leaked to respected publications saying that there's nothing wrong. If that's the case, then NHTSA needs to say, National Highway Traffic Safety or the Department of Transportation should say, you know what? there is no problem or there is a problem and try to diffuse it, because the fact is it appears and it points all arrows to that they're protecting General Motors, who owes them $50 billion. Although they also make good cars, vilifying Toyota is certainly not the answer.
And Lauren, educate me here. What would be the harm just saying, well, a great deal of the evidence points to some mechanical and/or electronic issues on Toyota's part. Not all of it does. What's wrong with just saying some of the early findings we have, just like they pounced on the early findings that said this was all Toyota's fault, update those findings to say we have evidence to believe, well, they're not all Toyota's fault.
Well, we know that some of them are Toyota's fault without question, and so they're certainly not walking away scot-free. But it is important for NHTSA to say we found some results that say that it is human error, and whenever there is recalls and huge safety splash of negligence, everybody comes out of the woodwork saying, yeah, I had a problem. And it's up to the government or the agency or the attorneys to sort out who is legit and who isn't. And in
so
this
let me
case,
ask you this, Lauren.
If we did not, truly is a problem, to say so.
Right. So if we had not rescued GM and Chrysler, would we have been intent on making Toyota be cast in the most unfavorable of all lights?
Well, that's an interesting question. Initially, I thought to myself, no, it makes sense. There's too many quality car manufacturers out there, including Ford and all the import brands, both German and Korean and Japanese. But now, when they keep going back and they won't let Toyota, even who's desperately trying to gain back their customer share, even have a chance to at least state the facts. If they're at fault, then they're at fault. And if they're not at fault, then, and there is a driver error, and I do realize that people make mistakes under pressure, everybody does,
sure.
Then let's state that. Let's state the facts. And if they're not willing to release it, that seems kind of odd, because they were certainly willing to quickly make moves to throw Toyota right on the coals and rake them over as much as possible, while other car manufacturers who were also making recalls never was mentioned in the press and never got out, except for maybe on the internet. So every car manufacturer has issues, but Toyota really took a beating on this one.
All right, it's called being fair and balanced with these things and not glomming on to it, to a cause one way or the other.
Right.
Lauren Fix, thank you very much. Good seeing you again.
Thank you. Good to see you.